Our first Angels of Delusion member is back, as rerunning Dialan at the same time as Norma would probably kill all of Norma's sales. So today let's talk about whether or not Sunna is still worth pulling for you, her kit and how she plays, her best weapons, distress and distress sets, her minion substats, her new and updated teams and Mindscapes, and lastly, let's also talk about her pros and cons. Welcome, I am Rivyn Elowen, but you may call me Rivy, and this is your complete updated in-depth guide to Sunna. Sunna is a physical attack and anomaly support who excels at providing a constant and repeated access to Ether Veil, a flat combat attack buff, and also a stun damage multiplier increase. Sunna features 2 EX specials and her entire game plan is centered around those. Her first EX special costs 70 energy and summons Bubblegum onto the field. Bubblegum is this companion and will become relevant later on. Furthermore, using this skill will then grant a state called Angelic Coordination to all agents in the squad for 40 seconds. What exactly this Angelic Coordination is used for, we will get to in a bit. Lastly, after using her EX, the heavy attack of this skill will also trigger a quick assist to the next member in the squad. Her second EX special does not cost any energy, it can only be used once every time the previously mentioned state is entered and can be activated in 2 ways. Either by simply pressing her EX special while being buffed by said Angelic Coordination state, or we can also directly chain into it from her first EX special by simply keeping her EX special pressed. Regardless of how we cast it, however, casting her second EX special will open Ether Veil Delusion Reprise and provide 50 flat combat attack to the team. This Ether Veil lasts for 40 seconds and if entered repeatedly, she will close the previously existing one. Lastly, her second EX special will also trigger a quick assist when the heavy attack hits. Let's talk about what this Angelic Coordination and also Ether Veil Delusion Reprise actually do, well, outside of providing a one-time access to her second EX special and set 50 flat combat attack respectively. While any character is in the Angelic Coordination state, they gain up to 1050 flat combat attack, based on 30% of Sunna's initial attack. Means we are looking at 3500 initial attack to max this buff out. That is the value shown in the stat screen. As per usual, maxing this buff out is a nice to have and not a requirement. Sunna's EX specials, chain attack and ultimate, as well as the basics from Bubblegum, again that is this little guy summoned from her EX specials, will apply a debuff on enemy's hit called Cat's Gaze for up to 12 seconds, and if Sunna is on field, the duration of it will continuously refresh. When any attack or anomaly character hits an enemy with the Cat's Gaze debuff, the debuff will become more and more angry with each hit before it then explodes. Upon a trigger, it will deal damage to all enemies in range, with the damage type being of the same attribute as the triggering character. This damage dealt is considered to be dealt by said triggering agent, and the attack multiplier depends on their class. Unfortunately, the Angry Cat can only trigger once on the primary target if multiple enemies are affected by it, which means it is slightly worse in AoE scenarios depending on how far spread out the enemies are. Lastly, if an enemy is stunned, the number of attacks required to trigger it is significantly reduced as well. Which is a great segue to talk about how many attacks we actually need. Outside of stun, we require 3 attacks to trigger Cat's Gaze, and during stun we only need 1. Whenever Cat's Gaze triggers, it will deal 3 separate instances of damage, and each one of them can individually critically strike. But there is the catch. Triggering Cat's Gaze will remove the debuff from the enemy. And this is the part where our little pet Bubblegum comes into play. When Sunna is off field and there are no enemies with Cat's Gaze on the field, Bubblegum will come in handy, inheriting Sunna's initial attack and attacking the target at the cost of 1 Claw Sharpener. Which brings us to her unique resource, Claw Sharpeners. It is as per usual indicated right below her HP bar and she can hold a maximum of 6 of them. Sonna gains 2 Claw Sharpeners whenever any squad member activates Ether Veil, 1 stack whenever any squad member triggers an attribute anomaly, but at most once every 10 seconds, and 6 stacks upon using her ultimate. Sonna also features a 4-part basic attack string, and we will never use this, so we skip it. Her chain attack and ultimate do what we would expect them to do, but both of them will also trigger a quick assist upon hitting an enemy with their attack's heavy hit, and her ultimate will also grant her said 6 stacks of Claw Sharpeners as previously mentioned. Additionally, her ultimate will also restore some HP when the quick assist is triggered, and the animation is really long however, and because of that we more often than not prefer to not use it at all, or at least not all too often. Lastly, when paired with an attack agent or a character of the same faction, Sonna will also increase the enemy's stun damage multiplier by 30% for 40 seconds whenever a character inside her Ether Veil hits an enemy, and lastly she also gains 15 additional energy upon entering the battlefield. Since all of her buffs and most of her damage are allocated in her core skill, if you do not care about min-maxing her personal damage or her days, simply leveling her core skill is honestly sufficient and you can leave all of her other skills at level 1. But Sonna can contribute quite some very high days, and if you want to min-max her, focus on her core, EX special, chain and assist first and foremost, then her basics and lastly dodge. Frankly, we are better off leaving her dodge at level 1 as we will quite literally never use it. Sonna has effectively 4 weapon choices: Kaboom the Cannon, Weeping Cradle, Unfettered Game Ball, and also her own signature of course. Her signature is a best in slot, primarily for energy reasons. Otherwise, Kaboom will work as well, and Weeping Cradle will do for energy reasons as well, but Sonna cannot really maintain its damage buff, so we will lose out on that one. It should also be mentioned that Sonna joins the other AUD members on field due to the team's joint attacks, which means that Weeping Cradle loses a lot of value. Unfettered Game Ball is great versus physical enemies and also her best in slot choice for ZZZ teams, especially versus Defiler. TLDR being, her signature is not needed regardless of her build, but the energy it provides is especially important for Ye Xiongguang teams as she doesn't really care about stun windows, but more so about how many more Ether Veils she can get from Sonna. Sonna's best 4-piece choice is Moonlight Lullaby, and also what I would recommend on her. As for the 2-piece however, it depends. For a Ye Xiongguang team, we want as much energy regeneration as possible as it allows for more Ether Veils, means we are looking at a 2-piece Swing Jazz. If you have horrible attack percent substats, a 2-piece Hormone Punk or Astral Voice will do as well, but I would recommend choosing Swing Jazz over maxing out her buff, at least if the numbers are close. If you plan on playing her with Aria and, well, without Nangong Yu, a 2-piece Shockstar Disco or King of the Summit are her best in slot due to providing enough days for a 3rd stun window. With Nangong Yu, however, both options work well and are usually up to preference and also boss matchup, as running Impact on Sonna can make it easier to hit 4 stun windows. Sonna's best in slot main stats are attack percent in both slot 4 and 5, with either impact in slot 6 if you play her with Aria and without Nangong Yu, or energy regeneration when played in the Ye Xiongguang team or honestly any other team. Sonna ideally wants up to 3500 initial attack, and that means as for our substats, we want to focus first and foremost on attack percent and flat attack until 3500 in the stat screen, then crit rate and crit damage, and lastly flat pen. If you play her in anomaly teams, which effectively just means Aria, you can focus on anomaly proficiency over crit values, but honestly I did not find this to make too much of a difference due to her low anomaly application. Sonna's Mindscapes are pretty good. Her M1 provides a team-wide 21% death threat, and because death threat gets exponentially better the more we stack it, her M1 is especially good with Ye Xiongguang's M2 and also the likes of Sissia. On the other hand, however, a lot of the recent bosses only feature half the defense of regular bosses, making this Mindscape a bit worse versus those. Her M2 increases the damage dealt of her cat's gaze procs massively and also provides a 10% combat attack. Her M3 and M5 exist as per usual, and while the damage gain doesn't really matter, she now also stuns much faster. Doesn't really matter too much for YSG, but pretty good for Aria, especially without Nangong Yu. Her M4 is at least not total trash, and her M6 is honestly pretty interesting. The actual value you gain from this Mindscape will heavily depend on your team, how you build her, and also how you play her. With her signature and an ER 2-piece and ER in slot 6, you will gain a 50% damage bonus for 16 out of 23 seconds for her Cat's Gaze procs, but it can also be less if you don't have her signature or you simply build less ER. I calculated this using a lower value, as I would much rather undersell a Mindscape than oversell it. Regardless, however, it is a massive damage boost for her personal damage and also allows her to be played as an on-field DPS now, which is honestly pretty cool. Her animations are honestly too cute to pass upon by swap cancelling them every time. A good stopping point is her M1, and because of how valuable energy is on her, and because the weapon banner has a 75-25 rather than a 50-50, I would recommend her weapon over any Mindscapes. As Sunna provides better buffs and more frequent ether veils than Zhao, Yeshongguang's new best-in-slot team would be with the Dialin and Sunna, but Zhao is free, and for some reason a lot of people skip Dialin, so Zhao will do just fine in the third slot as well. Sunna is also the best-in-slot choice for a ZZZ team, especially more so when played against Defiler with an R5 game bowl. She is also the best choice for Arya, with either of Nangang Yu or Lycaon in the third slot. Hadumasa did like Astra a lot, but now Sunna is his new best friend, at least if you have Dialin for the last slot, that is. Hello, post-edit Rivy here. Both Norma and Pyrrhus have released after making this video, and they both should be mentioned as being a fantastic pair, either together with the Sunna or as a standalone with her. Norma and Sunna specifically are also one of the best attacker wheelchairs out there right now. With that, back to the past Rivy. And lastly, she will effectively work with any attacker and stun, albeit your results may vary depending on the team, and she is not necessarily always an upgrade over Astra. Pros and cons. Sunna's investment is on the cheaper side, being often sufficient by only leveling her core skill, except if you care about her days, which is honestly extremely high, especially for support. She is extremely simple to play by quite literally only requiring you to press your EX special once every 23-ish seconds with the occasional ultimate if the button glows funny, and her Mindscape 1 is great, even more so for M2 plus Yeshongguang and the likes of Sissia. She can free up Dialin from Yeshongguang teams, and she also does not need her signature, albeit it is pretty good. On the other hand, she does not have many great teams and is more often than not a side grade to Astra outside of the previously mentioned teams in the team section. Lastly, Sunna is useless for Rupture and also much worse than Yuzua for anomaly teams. And with that, we are at the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, leave a comment on whether or not you are getting Sunna this time around, or any Mindscapes for her if you already have her, or, well, not. And of course, join the Discord. Also, if you want some cool merch, we now have merch! Yippee! A link is in the description. A special thanks to my YouTube and Patreon members who make this content possible. If you wish to support me, you will find a link to my Patreon in the description. Or click the join button right below this video. And as always, I appreciate all of you and wish you a great day. Peace!